You've probably seen this happen. A company, maybe even a team, just full of brilliant, hardworking people. And they're all giving it their all, but the result is a total spectacular failure. It's a huge puzzle, right? How can all these smart, rational parts, each doing their best, add up to a collective disaster? All right, let's dig in. We're all taught this one simple lesson, whether it's in business or just life in general. If you want to succeed, you need clear goals. It's the bedrock of goal-setting theory. This idea that having really specific, really difficult goals is what fuels high performance. But what if that's only half the story? What if that very same engine of success, when you put it inside a whole system of smart people, is actually what drives the entire machine right off a cliff? And look, this isn't just bad luck. It's not about finding someone to blame, like a bad manager or a lazy team member. It suggests there's something else at play, a hidden force, an invisible architecture inside the system that's pulling the strings, and it really doesn't care what we want. To really get a feel for how this works, picture the system as a set of perfect, separate gears. Each one is a little masterpiece of engineering, spinning away efficiently, doing its own thing. Now let's map that onto a company. So over here, you've got the sales team. Their goal is crystal clear: hit your quota. And they don't just hit it, they absolutely crush it, 150% of their target. A perfect gear, spinning flawlessly. Then over here is the engineering team. Their goal? 99.9% uptime. And you know what? They nail it. So there you have it, another perfect gear. Every single part of this machine is excelling. So with all this incredible local success, what's the end result? The company files for bankruptcy. This is the paradox. The sum of all these successful parts is a complete, catastrophic failure. How? Well, the way the system usually responds is depressingly predictable. The logic goes something like this. Hey, specific goals led to local success, right? So the solution to this big failure must be even more specific and even more difficult goals for everybody. The strategy is just to double down. And this is the exact moment our perfect gears start to interfere with each other. As they're all pushed to spin faster and faster, focused only on their individual targets, they start to collide, they grind, and the system's output is no longer smooth motion. It's just noise and wasted heat. This grinding isn't random either. It creates a very specific, very predictable kind of behavior. The sales team, chasing its quota, starts selling these super complicated deals that engineering has no way of supporting. At the same time, engineering, chasing its uptime numbers, refuses to deploy the new features that sales desperately needs to close those deals. This intense focus has a name. It's tunnel vision. You achieve excellence in one narrow area by basically ignoring everything else. And the consequence of this is profound. The entire system becomes fragile, brittle. It gets so optimized for its existing goals that it becomes completely blind to new information coming in from the outside world. It can't adapt because every single part is just staring at its own little dashboard. And this is where our analogy takes a darker turn. You can imagine a heavy casing slowly lowering over these grinding gears, locking them into this broken, dysfunctional dance. Now the structure itself is reinforcing the failure, making any kind of escape harder and harder. To understand why it's so hard to break out, you have to see it from the inside, from the perspective of one person trapped in the machine. Their logic is actually completely rational. It's a simple three-step process. First, you look around and see what everyone else is doing. Second, you form expectations based on that. And third, you choose the best possible action for yourself, given what you expect everyone else to do. And here is the absolute crux of the problem. Even if a single engineer or a single salesperson sees the whole system is heading for disaster, they are powerless. They can't just decide to change their behavior on their own. Why? Because doing so would mean they fail at their specific assigned task, while everyone else just keeps doing the same thing. They would be the one gear that stops spinning. And you know what happens to a gear that stops spinning? It gets replaced. So the result of all this isn't chaos. It's actually a new kind of order. It's a stable, but highly undesirable equilibrium. You can think of it like an economy stuck with high unemployment. This system has found a kind of balance. It's just a terrible one. Everyone is acting rationally, and yet everyone is worse off. This phenomenon, this hidden structure we've been uncovering, it actually has a name. It's a coordination failure.
It's what happens when a group of people could achieve a much better outcome if they all worked together, but they can't synchronize their decisions. So they get trapped in a worse but stable situation.
So, what this means is that the system isn't broken in the way we usually think of it. It's not falling apart. In a weird way, it's actually working perfectly. It has found a new stable pattern of behavior. It just happens to be a pattern that we don't like at all. But this leads us to a final and maybe even more disturbing question. What if that lack of a clear, overarching goal, the very thing that allowed this whole mess to happen, wasn't a mistake? What if the ambiguity isn't a flaw, but a feature? There's actually a concept for this, drawn from things like geopolitics and military strategy. It's called strategic ambiguity. That's the deliberate, intentional use of vague language and policy to serve some other larger purpose. And what could that purpose possibly be? Well, often it's to prevent an even greater failure. The gridlock that we see, those grinding gears, it's a state of contained conflict. If you try to impose one single overriding goal, you might force a direct confrontation between parts of the system that would be even more catastrophic. The ambiguity allows them to coexist, even if it's messy and inefficient. And here, our physical analogy reaches its final state. The gears are no longer just grinding. By now, they're chipped, broken, and in some places, they've generated so much heat that they have literally fused together. The structure is now permanent. The system is locked in. So let's go back to our original puzzle. What we thought we were seeing, what we mistook for a system struggling to achieve its goals, was something else entirely. The system was not failing.
It was successfully and precisely following the logic of its hidden structure.